And like you say, if you had said to me prior to me stepping into that gym about bodybuilding, one, I didn't know it even existed. I didn't really know what it was about. I've heard of it, but I didn't know what it was. And two, I myself thought it was just for men. I've never seen a woman bodybuilder before I started. So I got into it because I was using fitness to help manage my mental health, and there was people in there doing bodybuilding, and I discovered that it was something that was making me happy when I was in the gym, and I had a reason to get up every day. I said, well, do you know what? I need a goal. I need something to say, why am I doing this? And this is my why.
Welcome back to the Steven Sully Study. I've got my next guest here today with me, Andrea Corbett. Just to give, did I pronounce that right?
That's
yeah.
Right.
Just to give a bit of background to her achievements. Bodybuilder, you've been a champion a couple of times. British
champion.
British champion. You're also an entrepreneur. I believe your company's called Focus. Yes. You're doing a bunch of other stuff, but I think one of the most important things that we want to talk about, certainly for this month, is mental health awareness. And I know so many people have either been diagnosed with it. I know you did back in 2015. So I'm really intrigued about finding how you, first of all, came to terms with it, and then the strategy and the things that you had to adopt in order to kind of overcome it or live with it, basically, and how other people can learn from your experiences. But then also the other stuff that you do, like the charity stuff, because I think, I've never, suffered from things like bad anxiety or anything like that, but I have been around people that have, and they say when you do suffer with something like that, turn into things like charity, giving back, giving value, training, building a business. These are some of the things that you can focus on that can kind of get you through these tough times. Definitely. And that's probably something you can elaborate on in a bit.
Yeah.
So enough for me. I'm going to ask you a couple. Let's talk about bodybuilding. There are not many.
How long have we got?
There's not many bodybuilding. When I think about bodybuilders, I typically think of men. Okay. Yeah. Some of the bodybuilders that I know have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, and they're ginormous guys, but I don't actually know many women have done it. So how come you kind of pursued that career?
Gosh, so might as well start talking about how I got into from after I was diagnosed, because that's basically how I got into bodybuilding. So as you said, I was diagnosed in 2015, and I was advised to use fitness to help manage my mental health. And I went into a gym, and they had lots of people in the gym that were training, and obviously because it's a gym, but they were training for competitions and bodybuilding competitions. And like you say, if you had said to me prior to me stepping into that gym about bodybuilding, one, I didn't know it even existed. I didn't really know what it was about. I've heard of it, but I didn't know what it was. And two, I myself thought it was just for men. I've never seen a woman bodybuilder before I started. So I got into it because I was using fitness to help manage my mental health, and there was people in there doing bodybuilding, and I discovered that it was something that was making me happy when I was in the gym, and I had a reason to get up every day. I said, well, do you know what? I need a goal. I need something to say, why am I doing this? And this is my why.
Yeah.
So that's basically how I got into bodybuilding. And then I was training for the national championships, which is a drug-tested event. And I've got to tell you this story. So basically, when I was on the stage, they literally stopped the show, and I didn't want to move. I'm thinking, is my bikini moved? Like seriously, why are they all staring at me? But they basically stopped the show to tell me that I was too muscular for the category that I was in, and so they moved me to women's physique. So I started off as body fitness, and then they moved me to a category called women's physique, and that was it. It just continued to flow from there, basically, and when they stopped the show and they got me off stage, I was in tears. I was in bits. I was like, I don't even take protein shakes. Why are you sack? I thought I was being disqualified.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he was trying to tell me that they're moving me to a different category. But my head was in such a different space at that time. I just thought everything was negative. Everything was negative. So obviously you're not telling me you're changing me to a different, you're telling me I'm disqualified, I can't do this show anymore. But that wasn't the case. But yeah, so that's a short version of how I got into bodybuilding.
So before 2015, because I do want to drill a bit more down into like when you were diagnosed, if I may, just find a bit more about it basically. Yeah. But before then, was you ever training at all? Did you keep fit?
Yeah, you could say I kept fit, but wasn't into like the heavy training. I would visit the gym, but I was more of a cardio more than weights. You know, that the weights area was the male area. That's where you know. So, and that's why I do what I do now as well, to encourage and empower women that no, it's the weights area. Anybody can go over there. But when I started, I always used to think that was the case. That no, women don't go over and do weights. We don't do that. Yeah. So that was before I started, I didn't know anything about it. It was.
Because I was going to ask you, like when you were diagnosed, and I think that is, even though I'm not a doctor, I think it's great advice that if you are having challenges mentally or anything really, training for me is such a massive outlet, and it's a gateway to a lot of other opportunities. I don't know whether it's a bit shallow of me, but when I meet someone who's obviously in good shape and good nick, you don't really ever meet someone who is in good nick and good shape and they come across like they've got a bad aura about them. They always glow. And that was when I met you for the first time at a Well Infinity talk that we both did in London. We was doing I think a 20-minute talk each. That was the first thing I noticed about you, your glow.
Oh, thank
and
you.
Then and it was no surprise that you're in shape. So, but going back to what I was about to say, why didn't you just, they advise you to train, but why was it bodybuilding? Why wouldn't it be running, or why wouldn't it be boxing, or doing something like that?
Do you know what, Steven? It really could have been. I just don't know. That was something that even up till now, I ask myself, how did I get into this? Why did I get into this? This is not something that I would have chosen if you had given me a list of sports to do. Bodybuilding wouldn't even have got a look at. But like I say, because it was something, so when I was diagnosed and I was just in my room all day, every day, and drinking heavily, eating crap, I have a teenager, well at the time he was a teenager, and so I wasn't being the mother that I should have been. And so if it was something, the doctor said it was going to help me, to me that was helping me become a mother again. So that's why I went so heavy into it.
Self-therapy.
Yeah, literally, because when I was there, I'm thinking, wow, I'm actually happy. But I didn't want to say that I was happy because I was on long-term sick leave. So prior to 2015, I'm a qualified school teacher. So at that time when I was diagnosed, I was off work from my role. So I didn't know that you could be happy and have a mental health illness, which you can. So I want people to know that you can be happy and have a mental health illness, and don't feel guilty of being at home. If you are being put on long-term sick leave, don't feel guilty about it, because obviously, especially when you're doing certain roles, you need that time. You need that time. And it's also been revealed now that having a burnout is actually a disease. So the World Health Organization has classified burnout, which I believe that's what I had, that caused me to have that ripple effect into depression and anxiety.
When you say burnout, break that down? What does that mean?
So so my role, I wasn't just a school teacher. I was head of 2 departments for a big secondary school. So it was a very demanding role. I am a single parent, teenage boy. So that I don't want to elaborate on that. So that in itself at the time was challenging. I was in a relationship that I really shouldn't have been in at the time, but I know that now. And so it's just, you just burn out, and I'm always that go-to person. Andrea, yeah, I'll be there, I'll help you, I'll do this. and never leaving any time for myself. And so that's why I'm a big advocate for self-care as well, like having your time. So that's basically what burnout is when you just reach to the end of that rail and you just, there's nowhere else for you to go. You've just reached to the end point now, and you just...
You're basically spinning so many plates, and then before you know it, they all come crashing down. So at one go.
Yeah, all at one go. I give you the example of, if you've got, imagine having a fizzy drink in your hand and you shake it up and then you go to open it, what happens? It just all...
Yeah.
But if you was to have that fizzy drink and then gradually, so that gradual is someone talking to someone. If I had that, if I knew that I should be talking to someone, then that would have been my gradual going to the doctors when I first spotted signs. But I didn't know what those signs were. So that's something else that people need to be aware of as well, and why I do what I do and talk about mental health, because people need to know what the signs are, what the difference between mental health and mental ill health, because we all have mental health. You know, mental ill health is when we're diagnosed. So there's loads of things that people need to be educated about, and I'm glad that we're having this discussion now so it can get out to a lot more people as to what mental ill health is.
I've got, like I mentioned, I've got quite a limited amount of knowledge in comparison to you about mental health and the signs and how to overcome it and everything else. But I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I like listening to Tony Robbins. I think he's an absolute phenomenal man, and he touches on lots of different things in his content, including mental health. And he said that we all feel fear, we all feel excitement, we all feel anxiety, depression, and he said the difference is you can feel it as a human being, but then some people live there. And I've gone through like elements of where I feel a bit like angry, or I feel a bit depressed sometimes, but then I know that feeling's gonna pass. What's the difference between kind of that experience I've had to someone that is actually falling into, let's say, so what I'm trying to get at is what are the signs? Because sometimes I think, am I being a bit of an alpha male and trying to cover up certain feelings, or should I really express them a bit more?
I feel that is a good question, especially for men as well. Men are really closed in when it comes to their feelings. Well, some men, most men are.
And just on that note, sorry to interject, but like where I'm a boxer, what my amateur coach and even the current coach I've got right now, when you get hit, they go, no feeling, no fear, no fear. Because when you show your opponent that you've been hurt, so if someone hit you in the stomach, for example, and it does hurt, you've got no feeling like that, and you mask it and you walk forward. Now that works in boxing and combat sports, and I completely understand that psychology, but it's very hard to turn that off from a boxer now into the real world, and now to start talking, because it's almost incongruent to the fighter that you got to be in the ring, but to the person that you got to be day to day. It's a hard thing to kind of like...
But saying that, and you said that key word that I always use, mask. I had that mask. You say to me, how are you? I'm fine. Then I'll get home and he'd be like, where's the drink? Where's the crisp? Where's the sweets?
And was it heavy drinking?
Yeah, heavy drinking, family packs of everything. But going back to your original question, like how would you spot the signs? So at the time, I wouldn't have diagnosed myself with a mental health illness because I didn't know this. But now when I look back and I'm educated now, so the signs were, as I said, I'm a school teacher. My work wasn't being marked. I wasn't marking the school work. When a young person's asking you where their work is, you know that there's something not right there. The drinking, the just being angry all the time. Like my poor son, he really got it because it was just him and I in the house. So I was just angry at him all the time.
You're just venting all the time.
Venting all the time, to the point where, which is another episode, he got into a lot of trouble because of what was happening in the house. And because I didn't talk about it, he didn't know what was happening with mummy. So that was an issue. So yeah, so the work, the drinking, the not wanting to go out as well. I found that people were writing me out as like I was getting that anxiety attacks about going out. It's like, no, I can't. And I was out there person. I was always out and enjoying myself, crying all the time. What else is there? Crying all the time. Just being in that four walls. I could just remember just being in my room all the time, just watching TV, to the point where now I don't have TV in my house. Like, there's no TV. If I'm watching anything, it's when I'm at someone else's house.
And there's one person I kind of know of who suffers with like anxiety and stuff, and it seems like there's the extremes. There's either the extreme low or the extreme high, and both of them are not that good to be around, because you're like, oh, you're really kind of high now, not because they've not taken anything, it's just because it's a way of masking, but I know that crash is going to come. Yeah. And I kind of don't want to be around that person when that's about to happen. Yeah. So that kind of bipolar effect is like, whoa, like it's just, it's not good. Did you ever go through that kind of high and low all the time?
And another thing I didn't answer to your original question as well, the difference between a normal person feeling depressed and someone who's being diagnosed. So when I originally went to the doctors, I'm retracking a bit here just to make it clear. So when I originally went to the doctors, I was advised to go back in 2 weeks after my first appointment. And when I went back 2 weeks later, I was asked a series of questions. And I didn't know at the time, but those questions were to identify whether or not they would diagnose me with a mental health illness. So it's if your depression or your that low feeling, it lasts for like 2-3 weeks. If it's a continue everyday thing, then that's when you're more than likely to be diagnosed. But if it's just a one-off year, today I feel a bit down, like we all, there's no one that you can meet that doesn't have a down day. But if you're having, or even a down moment, but for me it was a down day, a down hour, a down minute, it was a constant.
Week, months,
yeah. So now that I'm on the road to, I wouldn't even say recovery, but on the road to know how to manage it, I have down moments, like a split moment, because I know how to bring myself back. Whereas before, I didn't know how to control it. So that's the difference. So between, I wouldn't say you and I, but you and I, as in you haven't been diagnosed and I have, you just have you're upset, you're angry, and the normal effects. But then back in the day, then it would have been a longer period, an everyday occurrence for me, like just feeling down and gloomy. But when I was on the outside, it was like, yeah, I'm fine. That whole boxer mask and realities thing comes into play with myself as well. So that's the difference basically.
So did they ever put you on like medication or anything like that?
Yeah, I was actually on antidepressants. You take it because the doctor knows best, right? Not all the time. And I make this clear that what I'm about to say, I wouldn't advise anybody to just go and do it. This is what I done personally, but I wouldn't suggest that you go and see a doctor if you're on medication. But I decided that I wanted to wean myself off the medication because I had started to do research and I realised that, okay, the fitness and the going to the gym and doing the bodybuilding was really doing something for me. The endorphins were being released and I was actually feeling the benefits of it. And so at the end of 2015, I decided that I'm going to start weaning myself off the antidepressants and I'm going to stop drinking. And since then, I have not touched a drop of alcohol. Like that year, I done my first international competition and we went to my mum and my family, we went to duty free. The same alcohol that I bought that day is still in my cupboard today because I decided I'm not going to drink it. Something's got to change. You know, and at that point also, I had resigned from school teaching because my confidence level and my self-esteem was so low, I didn't know what else to do. So all I could think of was, and I felt guilty about being at home and my young people not having their teacher. So many things was going on in my head that I thought, do you know what? I need a process of elimination now, and that's got to go. But I didn't even give any thoughts to what am I going to do afterwards. It wasn't until later that I started everything else that I'm doing now. But you have so much weighing on your shoulders when you go through this process that it's really not.
I'm really happy you said about the antidepressants and medication, because I'm a big believer of like natural cure is always going to be better than artificial cure. I've never been on them, but I have heard that short term, you can feel like you're overcoming certain things, but long term, if you're on medication all the time, despite what it is, it can actually have bad side effects.
You become dependent on it. And one thing that I never forget what the doctor said to me, and I didn't understand it, she wrote out the prescription and said, oh, you're going to go down first before you go up. How much? And I'm thinking, okay, how much further down am I going to go? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm low right now. And you're telling me I'm going to go down before I come up. And so that's what they do to you. They send you down and then artificially bring you back up. And that's what it was doing. And if you miss any, and because I was doing that as well, I was stopping and starting. So if you do that, then you're on a down, up, you're like this. You're yo-yoing all the time. And so that then affected my mood. So I was also having mood swings. And as a female, my monthly cycle stopped because of the stress. So there's a lot of issues that come with this illness. It's not just, oh yeah, you've been diagnosed with a mental health illness. No, especially as a woman as well, you've got your own issues that you need to deal with as a woman. Then you've got the medication on top of it as well. Plus I was drinking, so yeah, it's not a good. It wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good combination.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
So I've had a guest on here called Ruben Tabares. Yeah. He was one of the other speakers, and he's a phenomenal man. I really enjoy being around him. I always get that positive feel-good factor, but also I learn so much from him. And when I talk to him about food, he says food and people got their own frequency. The frequency that we have is more accurate than your fingerprints, apparently. This is what he said to me, and I believe in a lot of things he says about wellness. And he said that when you're feeling low and depressed, anxiety, all those kind of almost negative feelings, you turn to foods which are in line with that frequency. So let's just say a junk food, McDonald's for example. So basically, you got these massive like waves of frequency which is making you feel at dis-ease, which he spoke about in the talk. But when you have superfoods, which are like small little frequencies, it actually makes you feel better as a person. So how much did food play a part, whether it was factoring towards your depression or the mental health, like let's say, issues that you had, or when you were coming out of it on the other side where you're eating cleaner and it was helping you?
So obviously before the bodybuilding, there wasn't anything about, I didn't know about clean eating. I was just eating foods, and I realised that when I was preparing for this bodybuilding show and I was decreasing the amount of junk that I was eating, and then after a show and I go back to eating the junk, I could tell the difference in my moods, the difference the way how my body felt. It was weird that your body can actually adjust depending on what food you're eating. So I wholly believe what you've just said as well, and even now, more so now that I'm more educated and I know about nutrition. Obviously I'm not a nutritionist, but I know how my body feels when I eat certain foods. Even to date, I used to love sweets. I actually can't have sweets anymore because when I wake up, I feel like I've just had alcohol. I feel like I've got a hangover. And so what I've introduced into my life now as well is Sankrella. And that works. I love it. And so I used to drink a lot of energy drinks. I don't like to admit it, but I did.
Things like Red Bull and
more of a Monster girl.
Monster or Relentless or something like that. Yeah.
So, but now I have the Sun and Lucent that basically, if I'm depending on how you're feeling. So if I need to pick me up, I'll take those tablets, and it actually does work. And if I want to relax at night, I'll take them again. So, and they're all natural products. So now I'm built myself up to know and understand what food really does to you and how it affects you. So when I'm working with the young people or working with the women that I coach, I can then educate them on the nutrition side, you know. And one other thing that really helped me is water. As I said, I was drinking a lot of alcohol, so water wasn't coming into play. But once you start,
so you were dehydrated, basically.
Yeah. So once I was doing the bodybuilding now, and you got a water load, and you start manipulating your body with food and water, and you realise, wow, it really does make a difference. So yeah, when people say, "Oh, I need a sugar spike," you're not actually getting a sugar spike. it's actually draining you of your energy.
Yeah.
But you're just, for that moment, you're spiking, and then you don't realise that you're actually coming back down again.
It's almost like the medication thing again, isn't it? Short term, it kind of works for that hour, but then long term, it actually ruins you. And thing I know about sugar, salts and junk food and things, it makes your body inflamed. So when your body's inflamed, all your energy is going on there, and then you start to feel low again, and then you turn to another, I don't know, sugary drink or whatever, and that whole cycle is repeated day in, day out, and people don't even realise they're stuck in it.
Exactly. So now that's why I do a lot of the educating around physical and mental health, because I believe it's a connection. You don't have one without the other.
Yeah.
And then with elements, like I said, I'm not a nutritionist, but with elements of healthy eating. You know, so it does play a big part.
So going through 2015, you were diagnosed. The great thing about it is you found bodybuilding and how to transform your body and also your mindset, and that springboarded you into other things such as helping the younger demographic understand mental health issues and also helping them come up with a strategy. Is that what it is?
So basically what happened was in 2016, because as I said, in 2015 I'd resigned from my role, so I had a lot of free time. So I was literally going around on Eventbrite, and anything that had mental health in there, I was at that event just to really educate myself about what is this thing, what have I got, why have I got it. So I did that, and then I realised that over the more time I was doing the physical activity, I was becoming a bit more happier and a bit more lighter. And then I met somebody, and they told me about a CIC, which is a community interest company, and it's about giving back to the community. And I thought, you know what, I'm not doing anything at the moment. I feel that this is something that I could do and I would like to do. And so I formed a community interest company called Focus on Creating Your Ultimate Self, which is Focus for short. But the reason why it's so long is because when I started to focus on creating my ultimate self, positive things started to happen. And so I didn't just want an organisation that just had a name for the sake of having a name. It needed to resonate with me and have a meaning and really have some form of power behind it. So that organisation was set up with the thoughts behind it, that is to educate and empower. At the beginning it was individuals about the benefits and importance of physical and mental health. Then it went down to really working with young people about the same thing, and now it's working with young women and girls.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and I think it's really important, especially nowadays with young people. They've got so much things at their fingertips. Everything is just that microwave lifestyle. They got to learn that things take time, and it could affect the way that they live in their lifestyle. That, you know, the junk food that's available to them. How to really be in control instead of be controlled.
I think I've spoke about this a few times with my guests about social media. That's one of the things which is such a blessing in some ways. We can connect with so many people. We can get our podcast interviews out. You know, we can educate people. But then on the back end of it, there's also quite a I don't know. It's quite a bad side to social media where people want that they want instantaneous results. And sometimes when they don't see it or don't feel it, that's when they start feeling depressed, angry, and very, very bitter about certain stuff. Do you see that with some of the people that you work with or talk to?
Oh no, definitely.
That like social media is really affecting their mindset. And
even dads, even with not even just the young people, but the adults that I coach. You know, it's not always that I coach them on the physical aspects, but it's more on the mind. But if they are on the physical, it's like, oh, but I've been going to the gym for 4 weeks and I don't see a change, and it doesn't work like that. How many times are you going to the gym? I've been going to the gym like once or twice. Okay, cool. What are you eating? Oh well, I don't really eat that much. That's the problem. So people, you know, it's just educating people about but on Instagram, I saw this lady, and no, what works for her doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. Yeah. And then with the young people, it's like, oh yeah, one of the first things that they ask me, have you got a six pack? About this 6-pack life, and if you go to the gym, that's what you have to have. So it's really educating them that it's not always like that. You know, people can just go to the gym just to remain healthy, and you don't have to always have a result of having a six-pack at the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, social media, like you say, is a blessing and a curse. And the curse is that it's something that we're not getting rid of. It's just growing and growing and growing. And it's just about educating the young people about the signs of social media and what to expect and what to look out for. And you've got body image that they have, you know, like say, have you got a six-pack? Not everyone has a six-pack, but that's what they want. They want that lifestyle, and then they will take supplements or surgery just to look a certain way. So that could be damaging and detrimental to their life. So but what can you do? Like I say, it's not going anywhere. So it's just about as much education as you can give as possible.
Definitely. It's one of the reasons why I set up the podcast, because when I was coming out of school, I was told a few times by certain school teachers, which actually kind of fueled me, so I don't actually resent it now, but at the time I did. I wasn't going to achieve much, didn't come out of school with great qualifications. Back then there was no social media, there definitely wasn't podcasts, or I certainly wasn't exposed to it. And I thought to myself, if I had, back then, podcasts where I could listen to entrepreneurs, athletes, people who've gone through challenges, I can learn from them, it definitely would have given me some kind of guidance. And this is why I'm doing it, because I want to give back to the younger, predominantly younger demographic, but to anyone that wants to learn or get inspired because of the guests I'm speaking to. That's kind of why I'm doing it. And I guess it's why you speak, you do your talks, and also you've got your companies, and you are who you are in order to inspire these people.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like a new project that I'm coming out with is called Someone Like Me. So it's for young girls to have someone, especially BAME, from the BAME community, so the Black and Asian and minority community, to have someone like them, like be their role model, and someone positive. And because it's some of the areas that I am in are quite deprived areas, so they don't, not all the time, and I'm not saying all areas are like that, but it's just to have someone with a role model, and someone that I'll be in the Daily Telegraph next week, and Daily Telegraph, I don't know. That bit. But doing all the different things that I'm doing, really being a representative, a positive representative for them. So, and having other females come on board that are good representatives as well, that they can relate to, someone that they don't have to look on social media for, someone that can actually sit in the same room as you and say, we've done X, Y, and Z. Like, wow, okay. You know, I've got 2 businesses on the back of, I've turned my adversity into advantage, so you can do the same too, you know. So, and then going back to my story about being at school, when I just first started teaching, I went back to my old school and like, why are you here? Like, I'm a teacher now, I'm on the other side of the staff room. So people were surprised that I was actually got into the role that I got into.
So talk to me about the goals in the next 5 years, 10 years, because I know you set goals. Obviously, being an athlete, you have to set goals, and you have to be disciplined and execute your plan. So where do you see your businesses and stuff going the next 5 or 10 years from now?
So in the next 5 or 10 years for Focus CIC, I see us, excelling into Pan London. Already, I'm part of a group called East London Leaders, and the young people that I've got working there, the ideas that they come up with, they're going to take over not just East London, but London in general. So I see that really growing. At the moment, we don't have our own space, so gaining our own space and having full-time paid staff working there. So really growing that side of the organisation, and then with what I do outside of that, doing more international speaking, really serving a lot more females. So like I say, I'm really female focused from now on, basically. And just really being happy. And my next show is probably going to be next year. See how that goes next year, June, July time. I don't know if when I will stop, who knows, but that's, I'm going to continue for as long as possible because I love what I do. I love the training. I love putting on the bikini and just stepping on stage and just, rocking that stage. That's for me, 5 years time. It's just about being in a better place, because at the moment I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
Each day, my place gets better and better and better. But I really want to focus on growing Focus CIC because I believe that I'm working with the future, and if they can have their voice and I can go back into education, which is educating those young people, then that for me is a bonus. What I do outside of that will always be there and will always grow. But I feel like this is something that I set that up with not having any knowing of what a CIC actually involved, and so I'm really proud of how far we have got so far. So yeah, it will be all about growing.
That's a powerful vision. Yeah. This is a bit of a strange thing to say, but when I'm trying to get motivated, a bit more motivation for business, I actually listen to a lot of podcasts from athletes.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the mindset of an athlete can be transferred over to business because they share similar sort of attributes. Yeah. And one thing I really admire about athletes, footballers, bodybuilders, rugby, boxers, whoever, is the discipline they need on their training, the people they need around them, the goals that they set, the nutrition, all that kind of stuff. I want to talk to you about bodybuilding because I've never done it myself.
Yeah.
I lift weights and do power stuff for boxing. I do a lot of cardio, sparring, that kind of thing, especially for my fight coming up this month. Give me a little insight, or give the audience an insight, kind of the stuff that you have to do in order to get ready for a competition.
What do we have to do? And the same methods that I apply for bodybuilding is just really similar methods to what I apply when I'm doing the coaching. So it boils down to, first of all, you have to be committed to doing it. You can't just say,
can't be casual.
You definitely can't be casual. You have to be committed. You have to plan. You have to trust the process, because I don't know what I'm going to look like at the end of my prep, but I'm trusting that I'm going to look good enough to step on stage. And that is the same in the coaching life, or just in life in general. You don't know what you're going to be in a year's time, 10 weeks time, but if you work hard at trying to get there, at least enjoying that experience, and you know that you've given it your all, then you know you're going to at least be halfway there. So it's discipline, commitment, trust in the process, believing in yourself, have that faith that you know that you can do this, and putting in the effort. You know, you can't say, one day I'm going to go to the gym, or now come. Even when I'm so tired, and gym is the last place I want to be, and I've been there already in the morning, and this is the evening now, I've got to go back again. But this is the effort that I've got to put in, because I think, okay, if I don't go, then my competition, she could have been gone. She would have gone to the gym. She might be there, or she might have gone to the gym twice a day, and so she's putting in that effort. So that's the kind of urge, because being a bodybuilder, it's a selfish sport, because I don't need to rely on anybody else to be there for me. Yeah. I can go there by myself. Whereas if I was in a team, I've got my team to rely on. So bodybuilding is just you. So you have to give it your all. If some people have trainers, I don't. I literally just train myself. So I've got to give myself that push. Yeah. And so that's one thing that I learned, and I think that's what that really helped me power through everything that I do, because I've always had to be there for myself. And although I had good people around me, they still couldn't get me into the gym if I didn't get into the gym myself. So it's really having that determination and like putting in all the effort that you can. And that's why I give back to the young people, to show them that despite not knowing how things are going to pan out, just give it a go. Try. You know, and my motto is just always say yes now. Whatever someone, I'll try, I'll give it a go. Like before, even with food as well, I used to be so fussy when it used to come to foods, but now it's like, okay, I'll try. No longer will I just look at it and with a side eye. I'm going to give it a go, because it's being open-minded as well. So it's giving me that the allowance to be open-minded about food, people I meet, you know, because you're always meeting new people as well. So it's giving me that experience to network with other people outside of where I live, because I go to different international competitions. So It's just a lot of similarities from the bodybuilding world into building a business, into coaching women. So I do the same methods that I use with the women. They just don't know that they might as well be on a 12-week prep when I'm coaching them, because that's literally what it is. You're prepping yourself for your end goal, you know. So we always start with the end in mind, and that's.
And you work towards it.
Towards it.
You said about training like twice a day. So typically, let's just say right at the start of your, we call it in boxing the camp, but your
and we call it prep.
Okay. So let's just say right at the start of your prep, what type of sort of training are you doing? Obviously you're lifting weights, but is it like deadlifts? Is it squats? Is it bench press? What kind of things are you doing?
It varies depending on what category. So I've actually changed categories as well. So I've gone from, I did a full circle. So when I remember I started off telling you that I stopped the show and I was a body fitness competitor. I then went to women's physique. I'm now back into body fitness, purely because that suits my body type as I am now.
Okay.
And I didn't want to come out of bodybuilding, but I wanted to change the way that I worked out and then change the way that my body looked. So, and I'm happy with
So you're not necessarily now trying to put on mass, you're just trying to be lean?
I'm trying to be lean and have that X frame, and you still have a bit of mass, but not as much as I would have as required for women's physique. Because
when I think about bodybuilders, I think about them doing less reps but very, very heavy weight.
See, this is another thing. I always get asked, so how much can you bench press? Probably about 5 kg. Like, my chest is so weak. And my upper body is a lot weaker than my lower body.
Okay.
Ask me how much I can hip thrust. Like, I can give you 220 kg, I think it is. But squats, it varies, and it also depends on the day and how I feel. So if I've had a long day and I'm not feeling up to lifting heavy, I'm not an ego lifter.
Okay.
I'm not going to lift heavy just because.
Yeah.
You know, I'll have some days, some weeks where you have like a heavy week, but more than likely it's just steady pace. You know, steady pace wins the race, as they say. So that's how I build my muscle. And once again, it's all about focusing, creating your ultimate self. So what works for me may not work for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, and genetics comes into play as well. So it will vary. It does vary, but I couldn't even put a number on what I do. So I do my main ones are hip thrust, deadlifts, leg press. I like working my shoulders, so a lot of lateral raises.
Chin-ups and stuff, weighted chin-ups? Not so much? Not
so much. I give it a go. If I'm on camera, I'll look really good.
Yeah.
But if I'm not on camera, then I'm using the assisted pull-up. I shouldn't have owned up to that. but that's people's perception as well. They think that because I look a certain way, they expect me to do certain things. I just keep things normal and regular. Okay. I'm not going to go to do something that I know I physically can't do.
Yeah.
You know, so like I say, I'll give it a go, but if it doesn't feel right for me, then I'm not going to continue. Mm-hmm. So lateral raises for the shoulders, shoulder presses, just a lot of the just generic and basic workouts.
The typical things
that you would normally do in the gym.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I really go heavy with, as I said, is the hip thrust.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm going through at the moment, which is quite tough, and I've just got back from my beef, and I've got to tell you, it was very, very difficult to remain disciplined, but I did get through it. The nutrition, the food intake. Now I'm trying to lose weight at the moment. I've got to get down to 75 kilo, which I haven't been down to that weight since I was about 2013. Yeah. It's a long time ago. But I'm getting there, and I've got a few weeks left. When you're trying to put on mass and muscle, what kind of things were you eating?
So once again, I think I'm quite different actually, because people's when they want to put on mass and muscle, they eat a lot of carbs and so on and so forth. But there was a stage where I was literally on keto and I was putting on mass and muscle. So once again, it's everybody's different. And myself, for this prep, I went down to my lightest weight ever, which was 67 kg. Like I don't think I've ever been that weight. And I'm currently sitting at around 71, 72. And I've never hovered around that. And that's because of nutrition. So now, like I said earlier, I've realized what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And I'm working with my body now to remain consistent in what I'm eating. And so my nutrition is really boring. I eat the same food every day. Like I'm literally on just white fish and sweet potato and eggs.
Okay.
It's like eggs in the morning and then white fish and sweet potato throughout the day and probably some salmon at night.
So do you have your like cheat days? Like, where, do you know, like, I know you don't drink anymore and stuff, and you don't eat sweets, but is there days where you think, you know what, from an emotional point of view, I'm just going to sort of let my hair down, I'm going to eat this today. Is there anything like that?
But my cheat day is having some sweet potato fries. Like, I'm just really basic.
Okay.
Just keep it basic. Sweet potato fries and some ketchup.
Oh, I was going to ask you that.
And probably like a little mayo.
Yeah.
So that's that. But I'm not really, or going to Nando's or something. Love chicken and chips, but I'm not really a person to, because I know my limits, because it's all or nothing for me.
Yeah.
Like
I'm very focused and disciplined, and you know what works.
I have to be, because I can literally go to my mum's house and where the cupboards are filled with chocolate biscuits, and I can sit down there and happily eat a whole packet and not blink an eye. So I have to be really strict, because I know that these things could happen. But now I say that I can eat a whole packet of chocolate biscuits. I do that and then I wake up and I'm like, oh,
you feel
my
terrible.
Head. Yeah. So I know I can't do that, but the option is there for me to do that. So, or if I buy, what do I normally buy? Even something simple as cracker bread, like, which is just basic cardboard biscuits kind of thing. I will sit down there and eat. So I need to really not buy those things, because there's no filter for me. There's no, let me just save them for another day.
Yeah.
No, I will literally, and so this is the thing as well that I tell people, and they're like, oh, but you can just jog it off. It's not always that easy. It's knowing your limits and knowing when to, if you're like that, then just don't buy the product. And that's what I've realised, what I am like, that's my nature. I will sit down there and I will, because I did at one point have a really bad issue with binge eating as well. And that's also part of mental health illness, which I didn't know. And I only found that out because...
It's like a pattern that people go through, like they just indulge into certain...
Yeah, but I didn't realise that until I was doing a course, Youth Mental Health First Aid instructor course, and I was looking and they had a section on binge eating. And I was actually in the class and I was like, people were laughing at me because I was like, oh, I do that. And then when I left and I read it properly, I had to contact my doctors, because that was actually what I was doing. I was binge eating. I would buy loads, like, can I tell you, family packs of everything. And before I even get to my house, I would have finished it. And it has to be done in the car. And if you looked under, I think I got a post on Instagram actually. When I looked underneath my seat of my car, all these packets were underneath there, because I wouldn't eat in the house. Not that anyone would have seen me, but it was just this thing. It had to be done in the car, which is a bit weird. But
it's almost like denial.
Yeah.
Like you were just trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
It's almost like kind of like how drug addicts, they do it outside the house, and they go inside and they're all happy and all normal, but really they've been drinking or doing something.
Yeah,
and that was that kind of mentality.
That kind of mentality, to the point sometimes, even one point, my mum had something in the cupboard, like chocolate, and she's like, I bought that for the kids, and I just couldn't stop. You just can't stop literally couldn't stop myself from just. I didn't want it. It's nothing that I needed it, but so you've got to know your personality, know what you're going through, and then sometimes if that does happen, I need to assess what's going on in my life. Am I okay? Am I doing too much? Am I stressing out too much? Am I doing too much work? So you really need to take a hold on and looking at what's happening and why are you reacting, and what's the cause for your reaction? What is it? And so that's what I do a lot with myself. I really self-evaluate, and even now I'm doing what I'm doing, like still working on the CIC, but I set up a couple of Facebook groups, which I'm going to announce tomorrow to my followers that I'm going to be closing down, because I physically can't give them the time that I need to devote to it. But I didn't know that until I actually set the groups up and got them running. But I need to take a step back, because otherwise that's going to be detrimental to my own mental health. And the groups are about focus on creating the ultimate self for your body and mind. If I'm not doing that for myself, how am I going to help anybody else? So yeah, just for people to know that as well, like, and admit when something needs to just stop and say, no, let me park that. I'm gonna go back to it, but right now it needs to park, and then I focus on just this block rather than trying to do all of this.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing, because like I said about the burnout is a disease, and you can get used to working that way. Oh yeah, I'm busy, but you need to know your limits, and bringing that on to self-care. That is one of my other methods. Big advocate for self-care, you know, even if it's just taking a bath, taking time out for yourself. So every morning I do something called Savers, which is silence, but I do meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, because I go to the gym every morning, reading and scribing. So how I condense that is I write my affirmations and I visualize what I'm writing and what I want. So I'm so happy and grateful that whatever I'm so happy and grateful for.
Yes,
gratitude. Yeah, so or what I'm grateful for, and I feel that that's my time. So even if I only do it for 5 minutes, I know I've had that time in the morning, and it's devoting time for yourself. Even if you've got a family, you can still try and get up 5 minutes earlier before everyone else does and start doing something, and before you know it, you can get up 10 minutes earlier, and then 15, and then you can just keep extending it. You know, so I always said to myself, how am I going to get up earlier than what I get up to do all these things? But I do it now. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
So along with the physical activity, and find something that works for you as well. So gym is not for everybody. You know, boxing is not for everybody. So find what works. That's one thing I always say. The self-care and the nutrition. I think all those things mixed together really will make you a better person.
Would you support that? I think everyone should exercise, but they need to find their version of exercise.
Definitely.
Little bit like what you just said there. This is my version. So like tomorrow, I know it's going to sound a bit crazy because it's very, very basic, but normally on the Saturdays I do the same thing. I'll go and train in the morning and got my hill runs to do, which I'm not looking forward to, but I've got to do it. My missus then goes to netball, and I've got my son, and I'll take him around. There's two private estates near where I live. One's called Farnborough Park, one's called Keston Park. Massive houses in there, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million pound houses. Okay, and I that's my goal. I want to get in there eventually, right? And I'll put him in the buggy, have my earpods on, and I'm listening to a podcast. And I'm out walking, so that's exercise. I'm bonding kind of with him. He ends up falling asleep usually, but I'm walking around with him because he can see he's looking at me, smiling at me, and we're just having a bit of interaction. I'm getting the fresh air. I'm looking at the houses. I'm getting excited by them. I'm making a few business calls. I'm listening to the podcast, and just doing that, and it doesn't cost any money. I'm just walking around it. It makes me feel so fucking good, so powerful. And sometimes I think a lot of people mislead themselves thinking, well, the only way they could be happy is if they're spending a lot of money on I don't know, going to Bali and going to this phenomenal trip, or going to Thailand or something like that. In actual fact, you could do very basic things which don't cost any money whatsoever, and it gives you a bit of a boost.
Listen, Stephen, when I resigned and my savings had just dwindled down to like near enough nothing, I realised that we're just so materialistic, because I didn't have the money that I had before, so then I had to really be strict on how I spent my money. And now it's like, I don't even want to think about a new car, or I like clothes. I like to, not everyone, but I know I like to look good, but I can look good on a budget. When I say, nothing has to be expensive, even like the trainers that we spoke about earlier, they're on a sale. So I do it within my limits. And everyone thinks, not everyone, but most people think you do have to have this and have this lavish lifestyle. But I realised from that burnout and from hitting rock bottom, I realised, no, happiness, you can't put a price on happiness.
Yeah.
Just being out in the fresh air and just walking, like, remember the last time I came here? The first time I came to the office? I actually walked from here to near enough Earls Court.
Wow.
Because it was just, I was just walking. Oh, let me just keep walking. Let me just keep
and
walking.
you was enjoying it.
Yeah, I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
And like you, I was listening to something on my headphones. So, yeah, you don't need to have these expensive, lavish lifestyle to be happy. You make yourself happy. And even when I go out with my friends, they're drinking, I'm not, but I'm just as happy as they are, you know, on a different vibe.
Yeah.
So it's just it's what your perception of happiness is. And I feel like over time, when you realise who you are, I think it's about finding you. And over these years, I've actually found who Andrea Corbett is. And I'm now living her life now. Whereas before, I was living it through other people. I was my friends, I was the men that I was with. But now I'm in control, you know. So I feel that's the most empowering thing, is being in control of your own life. And don't let others control you. Social media, friends, even family. You control yourself and you make your own happiness, and don't rely on anybody else to make you happy.
Yeah. From this conversation, what I know about you, I really admire your journey and admire your achievements. And I think if you're going through tough times, no matter whether it's, you know, relationships or in your business or mental health stuff, I feel to a degree, if you can embrace it, because something good at the back end can always happen. Yeah. And had it not been through being diagnosed in 2015, you might have never found bodybuilding. You might have never founded a few businesses. You might never have done talks at Well Infinity and got up on stage and maybe, you know, achieved certain things that you've achieved. Also about nutrition, how that's helped you, how you've got better relationships now. I mean, there's so many positive things that have come from basically I don't even want to call it a negative thing, but a chapter in your life where you would have perceived it as negative, but now so many positive things have come off the back end of it.
And that's what I say. My motto is turning my adversity into advantage, because that's exactly what I've done now.
Yeah.
It's an advantage, not just for me, but all the people that I serve. And first and foremost, the most relationship that it has helped me with is my son. Because I remember when I said it was...
I wanted to ask you, how was the relationship with your son now?
Oh, we have so much banter. He's 22 now, so he's my man child. He's still my baby. He's still always been my child, my baby. So yeah, it's.
Does he train? No.
No. He's always, every week I'm gonna go back to the gym. Mum will go
What's
back
his
to
name?
the gym. Kyan.
Kyan, get to the gym.
Every week he's going to the gym, but he never quite gets there. But yeah, our relationship we bonded so much. Even though we don't see much of each other because I'm doing this and he's doing his own little bits and pieces. So, but we're always on the phone, over text message. So we're real connected. Whereas I know back then, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. So, and that's another thing people need to realise as well. When you get diagnosed, it's not just about you. It's about those that are close to you as well.
Loved ones, friends, family.
And one thing I didn't mention is that find someone that you can have that non-judgmental conversation with, because when I was diagnosed, I didn't tell anybody for months. Hence why my son got it, because I was bottled up anger and frustration of how am I going to tell my mum that I've got a mental health illness? How am I going to tell they're going to be just, ashamed of me? And that was not the case at all. My mum's my number one fan. She phoned me, oh, this morning's got mental health, you need to go on there. So she's my number one fan. She's just always telling me what's going on, keeping me updated. I'm a Time to Change champion, and she came to see one of my talks this year for the first time, and she signed up to be a Time to Change champion. So it's really powerful just to have that conversation and not to be ashamed of it, because you wouldn't be ashamed if you had a broken arm, and that's basically, it's just our minds that are it's not broken obviously, but it just needs fixing a little bit. and we just need that, you know, extra added care and self-care and whatever else we need, attention that we need to pay to it, because you wouldn't leave yourself with your limb hanging off. You'd go and get help. So the same thing we need to apply to our mental health.
You've got so much value to give to people, so much knowledge, so much experience. Where can people find you?
So they can find me on my social media is Andrea Corbett. My website, I'm in the process of rebuilding a new website, but you can still go onto there, www.andreacorbett.com. Email contact@andreacorbett.com. Instagram, you guessed it, Andrea Corbett. So yeah, and if you Google me, you can find it, and it's all good pictures as well.
Good.
nothing I need to be ashamed of. So yeah, just Andrea Corbett. I just kept it all simple. So yeah.
Amazing. Right, I always ask my guests the same thing at the end. Be happy, never content. What is your interpretation of that? That's my quote, my catchphrase. If you were to break that down, what does that mean to you?
Be happy and never content. Never just stay in the one place. Don't just be content with what you say. Oh, I'm fumbling now. Be happy, be content.
Be happy, never content.
Never
you actually answered.
Never content. Yeah, don't just stay. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, I said it, but I thought about what you said. So yeah, I'm happy, but I know that I'm not just gonna stay here. So like I said about my social enterprise, I'm happy as it is now, but in 5 years' time, I want it to grow. So I'm just not gonna be content with it just being where it is at the moment. I want it to do bigger and better things. So so that's my whole interpretations of it. I'm happy, but I'm not gonna be contented with what it is. I'm happy with my body, but I'm still gonna go to the gym. You know, I'm happy with my relationships, but I'm still going to be working on them. So it's always never just be content with where you are. Always work on, strive to be, I wouldn't say better, but happier.
Yeah. It's a constant evolution and pushing yourself.
Always. And you're always going to be proud of yourself. Every time you get to that next step, you can I've done this. You know, and that's what I do when I'm talking to Ash, because he's been there from the beginning, and so it's like, I've done this, Ash. He's like, I know, I told you this years ago. But yeah, so
Ash is top for him. I've got so much time for him, so much love for him. So this has been recorded by Mimboso, the wellness company and the app, and we're here at Woodbury House in the heart of Soho, the art company. Andrea, you've been an absolute phenomenal guest. I'm really looking forward to listening to this back. I took a lot from it. And I'm really excited to share the stage with you again at some point.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That'd be good. And let the audience know when your next competitions are going to come up. It would be good to see you back up there.
Next year. But you'll see me around anyway with the talks. And one other thing can I just plug as well?
Yeah.
So Focus CIC mainly. If anybody's out there that they've got a donation button on there, seriously, because it's all fully funded and it's all for the young people, so it's all going to go back into, it's a not-for-profit, so I won't gain from it. It's just always going back out and pumping out to whatever work we can do with the young people.
Nice, man. Yeah, that's fucking real cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is it. This is a wrap. Steven Sully Study. Be happy, never content. Thank you for listening.